Hello and welcome to another chapter of the Tao Te Ching. We're going to be going over chapter 50 today, awareness of death. Um, yeah, no one likes to talk about death. Well, not no one. I love talking about it. We're going to die. And it's important for us to take that information that we're going to die and be respectful of it. Death isn't something we should be afraid of, shouldn't be something that we're trying to avoid. It's just what's going to happen. Uh, the Tao Te Ching addresses it in many different ways. There's one chapter that says, we're all going to die. That's what we're born to do. You're born to die. Think about it. Like the one thing that you're going to do is die. No matter who you are, like the entire planet is filled with beings, all that have died. And that is the one thing that life is consistent for. Like you might not get a job. Like trees don't get jobs, right? They don't have idea, but they're gonna die. They're gonna die like everything else. Life is about dying, and we really need to respect that. It's a beautiful thing, um, and dying is great. It's great that we do it. If we didn't die, that would mean that this was real, and it's not. So like it's complicated, but it's beautiful that we die. So let's go ahead and read through this and see what it has to say. Every being is entrusted with life for a time. However, it is only a prelude to death. Some live as optimists, embracing life. Others live as pessimists, embracing death. Some even live in preservation. Some even live in preservation, passively living, advancing towards death. The master lives aware of her appointment with death. This brings her to knowing real life. She cannot be harmed by rhinoceros or man. Her movements flow from her being. She cannot be fooled by illusion or hallucination. Her actions flow from her being. She has freed herself of all separateness, even the distinction between life and death. A lot's going on here. So we start with every being is entrusted with life for a time. However, it's only a prelude to death. So this is keep this in mind as you're going through this. Life is a prelude to death. So death is inevitable for all things, all beings, from trees to animals to atoms to whatever, all of the things. There is a death. And that death is really just transformation, right? Transforming from one thing to another. Some live as optimists, embracing life. So they say, oh, life is beautiful and I have these great things, and we live. And we enhance our lives in all of these ways. Some live as pessimists in embracing death. That doesn't mean that they embrace death as the prelude to life. It doesn't mean that they embrace death with the respect, or they embrace death because, oh, everything's bad. So they kind of live their lives embracing death, embracing these negatives, embracing all of this, all of the darkness that is around them. Some even live in preservation, passively living, advancing towards death. So that just means that they don't have either optimism or pessimism. They try and stay in between. They try and have these experiences that are simply not committed, right? They're just like, well, I'm just going to stay here and watch shows, or I'm not going to travel. I'm not going to put myself at risk. I'm not going to do it. And we're just going to preserve my life as much as I can. But in doing that, they're not actually embracing their life in any way, right? They're passively living, advancing towards death. The master lives aware of her appointment with death. So she's like, oh, I'm going to die. This is good. Okay. I know this is going to happen. This brings her to knowing real life. Why? Because she knows she's going to die. She goes out and she explores life, and she has a beautiful time doing it. She cannot be harmed by rhinoceros or man. So if she is called to go out onto a field where a rhinoceros is and pet that rhinoceros, she is not going to be harmed by the rhinoceros. Yes, she may be mauled by the rhinoceros, but if she is not acting from her ego, but she is acting from her connection with all things, the rhinoceros has nothing to do with her. That rhinoceros is just going to be like, oh, she's connected. And if she's connected and I'm connected, then we're both connected and I'm not afraid and all is good. But when she goes out there trying to, show that she's not going to get hurt by a rhinoceros, she's going to get gored. Because she's not in that moment aware of her appointment with death. Right? She is being like, I can do all of these things. I cannot be harmed. I cannot be hurt. And She's taking all of this on, and the world's going, bitch, please. Right? So the master lives aware of her appointment with death. Then this brings her to know real life. And real life is that connection that you have with all things. She cannot be harmed by rhinoceros or man because she's not going to put herself in a position to be harmed because she knows about her appointment with death. She knows what real life is. And when you can release all of the need to prove, all of the need to be your identity, when you can release all that, you can be open to just what is. And if you can't do that, you don't know what is. All you know is your ego. All you know is who you've been. Her movements flow from her being, right? That's the thing. Her movements flow from her being, not her mind, not her identity, not her laws and rules and all of that that guides so many of us. But her movements flow from her being. That's why she can't be harmed by rhinoceros or man. Her movements flow from her being. She's not going to put herself in a position in which other things can harm her. If she's like, I'm not going to go left, I'm going to go right, or whatever, all of the things. I'm going to, like, all of the choices she makes are made because she knows real life. Why does she know real life? Because she's aware of her appointment with death. She cannot be fooled by illusion or hallucination. And, it could be said that we are hallucinating the manifestation all the time. She can't be fooled by that because her actions, once again, are flowing from her being. What she does, how she approaches things, how she moves, how she acts, that's all flowing from her. She's not preconceived. Those actions, those movements are preconceived. She's not planning ahead to act a certain way. Oh, well, if this happens, then this is what I'll do. All right? We've talked about that in the last couple verses when we talked about compartmentalizing and creating this reality that doesn't exist. Here we are, allowing things in this moment to flow as they flow, to flow from my being. She has freed herself of all separateness, of all compartmentalizing, even the distinction between life and death. Now, there is no difference between life and death. Death, once again, life is a prelude to death, but death is a part of life, and there is no separateness from that. And that which you are will extend beyond death, but not this, right? This body, this life will end, but that's not different. It's so beautiful. And when we can embrace death, we will look at life differently. So many of us live our lives and are living our lives in such a way that it exposes our fear of death. We embrace the manifestation, we embrace the illusion, we embrace the hallucination, the hallucination. We're afraid to be harmed. We're afraid to be harmed, and that fear to be harmed puts us in positions to be harmed, because that's where we're putting our energy. That's what we're focused on, and that's the lesson we need to learn. So, Thank you for joining me for another chapter of the Tao Te Ching. This was Awareness of Death, chapter 50. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.